Welcome to the Law Shit You Should Know podcast. We're here to talk a little bit about the law
and a whole lot about nothing. Every week, we have a new guest to discuss current events, legal drama, and dive even deeper into
the Law Shit You Should Know.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Law Shit You Should Know with Elina Santana
and Leslie Marenko.
And today we have Kristina Willson. Hi, Kristina.
Hello, my people.
Thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
Thank you for being
nice
here.
To be here.
Thank you for letting us torture you for the next hour.
Oh, well, here we go.
Wow. Well, that being said, why don't you tell our viewing and listening audience who you are, what you do, and all that fun jazz.
All right. My name is Kristina Willson. I am the founder, I guess, of Q Legal. It is a boutique law firm up in, our office is in Sunny Isles Beach in Miami. And we do corporate and real estate general counsel services. So,
what does that mean, corporate?
We draft large staple documents that nobody likes to read, basically. That's what that is.
Okay, but people have to read.
Yeah, that you should read, yeah.
Law shit you should read.
You should read.
Law shit you should read.
Yeah, if you're like, buying a business or you need
have a business.
Or just have a business where I was going to say, if you need like a contract, like a template agreement that you use with your customers, terms and conditions for your website, shareholder agreements, operating agreements, all that kind of stuff.
And then you said commercial real estate.
Yeah, real estate, corporate real estate, commercial real estate is pretty much what I tend to gravitate towards. So acquisitions of investment properties and shopping centers and all sorts of stuff, commercial condominiums, all that good stuff.
So rich people buying rich people shit.
Pretty much,
yeah. Which is why her office is in Sunny Isles.
Yeah, she's in Miami Beach.
All about tax deductions.
None of this downtown Miami bullshit.
Portfolio growth. Yeah.
Cool. So, tell us, what did you come talking to us about today?
Wow.
Well, okay, I'll segue a little better than that. So
what do you want, babe?
We wanted Kristina. No. We wanted Kristina to talk about the Corporate Transparency Act, which I'm sure people who are listening have no fucking idea what that is. So why don't you start by telling everyone what the hell that is and why they should care? How about that?
Okay. Well,
let's go there.
That's a fair point. Okay, yeah. So, and it is shocking actually because this law impacts
everybody.
So many people, like basically every small business owner in the country, other than nonprofit owners, are basically impacted by this law. And I've been going around different events, talking to my own clients, talking to other people. Nobody's ever heard of this before.
Nobody has any fucking clue what this is.
It's crazy.
Outside of our world.
Including myself until I had a conversation with you for the record. I was like, the what? I don't even know. And I'm a lawyer, so I mean, I don't even know what I could tell you about the general public. But go on.
So, in true form. So this law was originally passed back in like 2021, and it went into effect January 1, 2024. And of course, like every kind of knee-jerk reaction, as soon as this law started becoming live, basically, all the corporate attorneys out there shit their pants, essentially, or like, this is great overreach, this is ridiculous. And it basically is a law that requires financial disclosure of the ownership of small business owners, of all small companies, LLCs, S Corps.
Every single one, people. Because you're just going to get a shit ton of questions.
But this is not federal. This is Florida, right?
No, this is federal. This is nationwide fund. This is and so they've created this portal that basically didn't go live until it was just whatever. But basically it's so what they've defined a bunch of stuff in this law, not really well. So it's very broad and very vague in parts, and that's why it's created a lot of uproar. So not only does it apply to most small business owners out there, it's impacting beneficial owners. And you're like, what is that? You start drilling down into who is required to disclose what kind of thing. But basically, essentially, if you're a business owner and you own more than 20% of a company out there, you have to file with the federal government very important, just personal information, like your date of birth, your address, your name, all these things. For every single owner in the company that owns more than 20% of the company, or it can also be interpreted that if you are a CEO, you're not even technically an owner, but you have the ability to control or make decisions on behalf of a company. Well, this also applies to you. So That's where it becomes a little bit vague and it's overreaching in general, because the other thing is this information is already kind of disclosed to the various federal agencies. So this is just yet again another disclosure of the same kind of information that you've already disclosed. But the interesting thing about it is, so you're disclosing your driver's license. That's a government issued ID, right, or a passport or whatever. You're disclosing your social. You're disclosing all these things. The idea behind this law, and a lot of our countries have it already or some form of it, is to prevent money laundering. And the problem with it is the rollout of this. If you're really a bad actor in the real world, you're just going to get your buddy to like, I'm the owner, so it's really not, the argument is at least that it's really not going to have an impact to prevent money laundering or bad behavior going on. So it's just being a burden and costing a bunch of money for the owners out there. And the crazy thing is the ramifications of not complying with this thing. It's like $500 a day. There's jail time.
Oh, shit.
It's like,
Because FinCEN,
because
FinCEN is going to be the agency.
yes,
that's gonna
exactly.
come after
Wait. So let's take a step back. So when you say all companies, are we talking about all LLCs, all PAs,
Yep.
all?
Yes, and
Yep.
yes.
So any
Like-
mom and pop that has.
Every, not any,
Mom and pop.
every and every.
So
Every
if
holding
I have
company.
a company and I work out of my house, no employees, just me, I just created it because my accountant said this was the way to do my
Right?
gardening work. Okay.
Right.
Me and my lawnmower who are, cleaning up the sidewalks.
I like how
whatever.
somehow she gave herself the job of like landscaping or
Yeah.
some shit.
Well, I'm
Yeah,
trying
to-
everything she could do.
I'm
That's
trying
what
to think
people
of
small business
something
guy out
that
there.
doesn't require an office, doesn't
Right.
require other employees. Like,
Yep.
I mean, it could be anything. It could be I sell, ice
You
cream
sell
on
Mary
the
Kay,
corner.
babe. You
Like,
sell
fine,
Mary
I'm
Kay.
Mary Kay. I sell Mary
Still
Kay.
very
So
kid.
My point is
Jesse,
a
what's
solo
Mary Kay?
person, person who is just doing things to get by. We're not talking about an office or a giant corporation or anything like that.
Yeah.
I have to register my ass,
You have to register
Oh,
your
yeah.
ass. Yes, you
Oh,
do.
yeah.
and everyone in America
and here
doesn't know this.
And everyone in America doesn't know
And
this.
let's make it even worse. So if you formed your company before January 1st of 2024, they were so kind. They gave you till the end of the year to
FinCEN is
to
adorable.
I know, to submit this
So loving.
information. So they gave you a window of this year to basically by December 31, 2024, every pre-January 1 existing small business has to comply with this act as of now, as of today.
Yes.
If you create a company this year after post January 1, 2024, or on January 1, 2024, you have 90 days. And that was actually revised. It was originally 30 days, but they gave us a little bit of extra breathing time because everybody was losing their shit, basically. So now they're giving everyone 90 days to comply with this for newcos. And the reality of this is you have a lot of people out there that are foreigners, for example. That's an easy one for South Florida people. You're buying a piece of real estate and you open up an LLC. You're a foreigner and you have to apply for an EIN number. Well, sometimes it takes you that whole time period to get
Sure
an
does.
EIN
If
number.
you're
assigned.
lucky, you get it
Yes.
that fast half the time.
If you're filing right away,
Good
you'll
luck.
get it. Yeah, and then you can comply with this. But on the 30-day timeline, there's no way you would never you'd be in violation of this act.
I mean, to me, what worries me is less about the bigger companies that always have legal counsel, that should have
Right.
people who know these things, who keep track of shit. But, I'm thinking of the ice cream guy in the corner, right? Or anybody. I mean, I
Yeah.
use Gardner because I think it's a great example of someone that wouldn't necessarily be sitting and reading all the Corporate Transparency Act.
Our nail lady. Our nail lady is
Fascinating.
not.
Our nail lady,
Is
who
not-
probably has her own PA or LLC,
Right.
is not reading the Corporate
She does not
Transparency
know
Act.
that there's a $500 a day penalty
yeah, that's
And
fucking
jail-
crazy.
and or jail
Crazy.
time.
and or jail time.
It's good. That's
Yeah, and, you know,
it's insane.
I mean, you know, we got Gabe sitting over there who handles our podcast. Y'all
Gabe, you
can't
got an
see him.
LLC, Gabe?
Gabe's got
Gabe.
an LLC. Gabe, you
Gabe.
registered?
CTA.
He's
Gabe.
like CTA.
Gabe's Googling.
He's Googling right now.
Gabe's Googling behind the
Gabe,
scenes.
it applies to you.
Because you've got to December 31st to get your shit together. We're all going to get fined $500 a day.
I'll give you my cards.
It's fucking crazy. But I think Gabe's a great example, which is why I bring him out. I don't usually do that, but someone who just is an individual who provides a service, you know, whether it be anything like professional to anything. I mean, fucking anything. It could be I have a food cart for all I know. You know, it could be anything. And I think it becomes more obvious when you start talking about business owners that have employees and businesses. Then you're like, okay, well, not that it is obvious, but my point is, I think it becomes a little more like, okay, there's regulation, blah blah blah. But when you're talking about individuals, this is huge. This is onerous.
And the thing about it is, like, bigger companies already have these things, right?
That's my point.
When
Right.
you're
That's
going
my
on the
point.
stock market, whatever. Like, they have these prospectuses, and all the owners are just like, you have to file this stuff with the SEC, right?
And that's my point, right? The Marriott is filing this shit anyways.
Fine,
Okay?
right? They've got an army of attorneys and accountants making
That's
sure
my
they're in
point.
compliance.
Yeah.
But the small business owners were never regulated like this, and you know, on a federal level. So that I think that's where the shock comes in. You know, it's a mess. And the reality of it is, like, the day this thing went live, probably even before, it was already being challenged in the court system. And there have actually been, I mean, you know, there's been a couple months since this thing has been live. There have already been a numerous amount of lawsuits and challenges to this thing, and actually some and this is the thing, if you Google it, you might come across an article that says, oh, it's been found unconstitutional. Well, that's technically true. It was challenged, and the plaintiffs that brought that case won, but then our lovely FinCEN immediately released something
Immediately
saying,
said, not you fuckers. Only they
only
don't have to do this.
The special people who brought that lawsuit are technically
The rest of you will still find $500
temporarily
Fuck
exempt,
with it. Like,
and they're even appealing that. So, you know, basically the advice that we're giving, you know, that I'm giving everybody I know, my clients and friends and all that are business owners, is that they just comply with this and get it. You know, you got nothing to hide. Just it is a pain in the butt, but it is the law, and we got to follow it. So. The consequences, you know, if they really start, I mean, the way this thing was drafted, like, you're going to jail if you don't turn over your date of birth to the federal government. I mean, they already have it on your birth certificate. It's like,
I mean, what's interesting actually is something like, Elina, what you just said, and that just goes to show, because I think what we're missing here, or what maybe is not part of the conversation, and if you're not in my world or in Kristina's world too, you wouldn't understand maybe some of the backstory behind this, because this is tracking very much to me the way 15 years ago with FATCA, with Obama. And that was, for anybody that doesn't know, that was the whole time that UBS is being, you know, fucking fined a gazillion trillion gillion dollars for hiding U.S. persons' money overseas, all that kind of Swiss bank account, Panama, this and that, right? Mm-hmm. And so FATCA tried to put a stop to that, or at least that was Obama's. And then we have CRS. Like, CRS comes right behind that. And that's where the United States was like, haha, fuck you guys, gotcha. Because by the time every other country is signing on to common reporting standards and giving up information about US taxpayers, then Obama loses the Congress and says, I don't have the votes. I can't sign up to CRS, right? So we became the tax haven for the rest of the world. Like, circa 2010, 11, 12, every Argentinian person, every South American person with any money that needed to pull their shit out of Switzerland immediately went and parked it here. Around that same time, like, the IRS decided, wait, we're trying to go after all of these people that are doing tax evasion or money laundering or whatever it is. And FinCEN is really that kind of enforcement arm. But they're going, we don't actually have the structures. You know, like, when we put together, like, entity structures of, like, this owns this and 20% owns that and da-da-da-da-da, and it could, like, freaking be the size of this wall, there was a huge component missing. They're not interested in the Marriotts. The Marriotts already have reporting.
Correct.
They're interested in the LLCs that somebody pays one of my partners to become manager of, because nowhere do we usually have to report ownership, especially not at the state level. So this to me is just such a natural progression of what's been going on in the last 15 years. good or bad. I mean, I have a lot of opinions about this fucking nonsense, but it's just so obvious.
I can tell they're all positive.
Yeah.
Glowing reviews.
Yeah, and this
About
is
the
me
fucking
trying to. This is me
nonsense.
controlling myself because this is my world. But it's the writing was on the wall, right? And they've gotten away with way more than this. You know, this lawsuit's very cute. It's very nice. I don't think it's fucking going anywhere.
No.
It really isn't.
Yeah.
It really isn't.
Yeah, so it's a mess, and
So-
that timeline's, you know, and kind of like any government rollout that has not been properly announced or thought out very well. You know, they have this portal now. It's gone down for maintenance a couple times, but you know, a gross majority of the filings have not occurred because one, either people don't know what the fuck it is, or two, they're waiting to see. You know,
I was about to say, I mean, I will happily sit here and admit, because I am well within my deadline, I have not done shit. I don't know shit about this.
Yeah.
I am not worried because I'm hoping that it all works out before December 31st and this all goes away. So I will be one of those people who will
Yeah.
calendar this for December 15th.
So
and then
the-
I will
so the
and then I will
interesting
call
thing is-
Kristina on December 15th and say, bitch, do I have to do something? Like,
I guess I won't be taking a holiday.
You'll be
break.
very busy.
I
You'll be
suggest
very
you
busy
block
in the year.
out December.
I know. I'm going to be sitting there watching this portal crash when 55 million business owners are like flooding the system with their driver's license scans. Like,
yeah. I mean, I it's just
Yeah.
so unfathomable to me. And this is why I'm like, every time y'all start talking about this, it's unfathomable to me that this exists and nobody fucking knows.
Nope.
Like, this hasn't been talked about on the news. If you bring it up in conversation with people, they have no idea what you're
No
talking
clue.
about. I don't even know what the CTA acronym stood for until I Googled that shit, like Corporate Transparency Act. That sounds terrible. That definitely
you know-
doesn't
you
sound
know-
like
you know the
anything that I
people-
need to worry about.
You know the people that have heard of it, they give it out in insomnia classes when you're having problems sleeping. They're just like, start reading this. Go.
Like, who fucking knows what this thing is? It sounds like some, shit made up by someone in Congress, and nobody fucking worries about this. And unless you're like a nerd of the highest degree, you have no fucking concept of what this thing is, And for God's sakes,
Shockingly, it was passed during the Trump years. So
That is shocking.
It is
That
shocking.
actually
He's
is
back,
shocking.
You know, it's kind of interesting, but
yeah, it is interesting actually. Well,
yeah.
anyways, but that's what I find crazy is that absolutely no one knows what the fuck is going on with this.
FinCEN
And
is
more
not so good
importantly-
at advertising. They have
Well,
a marketing
yeah.
problem.
But I'm not
They-
even
they
talking
say-
about that. I'm like, how has the news not picked this up? Because again, Marriott's not affected. I'm talking about like the day-to-day shit, the day-to-day people that have a normal LLC. Half of them open it for tax purposes, right? Working out of your house.
Yeah.
It's not like you have an office and 10 employees where you expect
Right.
some sort of regulation,
Yeah.
right? You got to deal with workman's comp and all that fucking bullshit that
Yeah.
we have to deal with.
Yeah.
But when you're not even that size, like this kind of shit is the last thing ever on your mind. Unless this is coming out on the news every day as a commercial, hey bitches, get your shit in order. Like, who's paying attention to this shit?
Yeah, and it's true. And even when I've talked to people about it, they're just like, is this really going to be a big deal? I'm like, listen, like the way this thing is drafted, if they want, again, this law is just like the penalty part of this is just ridiculous.
Yeah, it's egregious.
And then, okay, so let's talk about that. So great. Let's say December 31st comes and goes. We're in 2025. Everyone starts getting fined, millions of dollars, whatever. Now what? Who's fucking enforcing this shit? What are we sending out? Like DeSantis's private guard that he's trying to?
No. This is the same way. This is going to happen the same way. The enforcement is going to be absolutely the same way in the way that they enforce your taxes.
So they'll just take it out of my tax
They'll
return.
they can take it out of tax return. They could lien your shit. They could freeze your bank accounts. They
We're
could
all
do many,
fucked.
many things. Yeah. No. This is the
In
federal
conclusion,
government. Okay.
In
This
conclusion,
ain't
we're
bullshit
all
state
fucked.
government. Yeah. No, this is. They do have definitely some enforcement power. Now, I think this is so kind of ridiculous, this $500 a day. There's going to be something similar to like,
They got to tone that down.
they need to tone that shit down because Gabe over here behind the camera, really truly doesn't know.
She did,
you know?
at some point.
And so when we're talking about something as like ridiculous as like F-bars, which is usually dealing with like a U.S. person that has more than $10,000 offshore, did not report it, blah, 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 blah. Even that, there's a whole lot of like, oh, you didn't know you needed to file. Oh, you forgot you were a U.S. person because you moved to fucking South Africa.
I forgot I was a U.S. citizen.
I have a green card. My bad. You know, there's offshore voluntary
dog ate my
disclosure
corporate filing.
procedures. There's the,
The dog
you
ate
know,
my-
bad job, but we'll let you go through this process. You know, something much simpler than that's going to have to come about for this, because nobody really fucking knows they need to do this. And what are you going to try to find, like, everybody? Because what's interesting about this more than anything is because there's a state registry, they could literally pull, right, the 900,000 fucking LLCs in Florida and literally go one by one, I guess, and start sending demand letters. I mean, I guess if they really wanted
But
to.
that's my
This is
point when I
wild.
say enforcement. I mean, maybe enforcement's the wrong word, but when I say enforcement, that's what I mean. Like,
Like,
how
it's
do
a
you even
scare
have
tactic.
like the sheer manpower to do this? Like,
I mean,
it's impossible.
At this
The IRS
scale.
can't even fucking answer the phone,
Yeah.
like
Vincent,
for their
at this
customer
scale.
service
The
line.
crazy
You
thing
know,
that they're
like,
shifting the burden to you, being the business owner. Like,
Yeah.
it's on you. I mean, look, you may get away with murder, never be caught, never be audited by the IRS, but it's still on you, right? To
But
like
the day you
these-
get audited,
like,
oof.
yeah. And this is
Mijo.
just one of those things. It's like, you know, it's, you know, something that you got to file, and you have to file it an initial application, and then here's the crazy shit. So then if you change, like you sell your business to someone else, or you bring in a partner or something that goes over that threshold,
you change president
Yeah.
on Sundays. Right?
Exactly. You change presidents, officers, whatever.
Fucking manager on your LLC went from the great honorable Manuel Rodriguez back to tu primo porque no quieres pagarle a Manny. Well, you gotta go fucking change.
Yeah, you got to go back in there.
You gotta
and
go
file-
back in there and fucking
and
file
file
a
an
new
update.
report.
and how much are these filings?
Well,
I assume there's a cost associated with them.
yeah, it's not so much. It's not so much about the cost of the filing. It's where
The
the
trouble,
effort- well,
right.
It's the trouble, but where the effort comes in is like, for example, I know my clients. I formed their companies. I drafted their operating agreements. I know their corporate structure. I know that when I start looking up a corporate, structure, and there's the company owns a company owns a company, I work my way back to the human, right? But the thing is, the vast majority of small business owners out there built it on their own. They didn't go through an attorney. So it's
I was about to say
the time
operating
that, like,
agreement.
the time and the disclosure, like
What's that?
yeah, to navigate the FinCEN website to create to get into this portal, you have to do a whole registration process. People like us that do it commonly got assigned a number. If you don't have a number, you're using your social. If you're doing it for your own company or someone else's, if you don't have this number that they've assigned out to you, and then with every change, you've got to make this thing, and there is that. It is a time. It's one, figuring out this portal and navigating all of that, but also knowing who in your company has to report, who has that duty to report. So it's digging into the law. It's a time issue more than anything. And so with every new client where they're coming in with, I have some clients that have over 155 LLCs because they, have a big structure, and they're technically, they're owning different assets and stuff, but I have to go into the operating agreements of each one of these LLCs and see, who are the owners that meet that threshold, and who are the decision makers that meet that requirement. And then going in, then I have to go to each one of those people and get their information and make sure it gets filed properly. So that's where the danger comes in. And again, if you make a mistake or you don't comply with this thing, the penalties in there are just ridiculous. It's just crazy.
There's gonna have to be some type of amnesty. Hey, I didn't know. Oops, check the box.
Like an oopsie.
Yeah,
I've-
oops.
I've been trying to
you
get
know, like
Immigration attorney's been trying for amnesty a long
Yeah.
time. That
Yeah.
shit ain't
it's
flying.
gonna need to be.
You're all fucked.
My bad.
Yeah. And it's
My
kind of the
bad.
same. Like, look, registering a business on a state registry, a lot of people do that themselves too,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
And all is well and good until there's an issue, right? Until they've formed that family business and or with their best friend or whatever it is, and then shit hits the fan and they actually have to go, fight it out or fix something, and then it becomes a mess. So, and I think a lot of people are just going to file or have someone or hire someone file this for them and then just think, oh, I'm good to go, I'm done. But not knowing the law and not knowing all those little intricacies in there about when you have to go and update.
I was about to say,
Yeah.
so it's one and done unless you got to update.
Well, yeah, and what are
We don't
the
have to
updates that
like
you have to
re-register.
You do every time there's basically a significant change to the company in management or in ownership.
Yeah, and you know what comes to mind immediately? Like when you go on Sunbiz here in Florida, and you can register whatever you want, right? There's like 100 things to choose from.
Yeah.
And some of these things have been made, are like, don't exist anymore in our laws after certain amendments, after whatever, right? So this, like, what immediately comes to mind is like managing member, which does not fucking exist in the law anymore, but you could still choose it on Sundays, right? Your dumbass can go be managing member if you fucking want to, right? Like, I mean, things like this that are not, so again, these are public registries, right? So I guess if I was, I don't know, fucking special agent FinCEN, give me a fucking badge or something, and I'm gonna go looking up who are the fucking clowns? Oh yeah, right. Like looking up this nonsense, and then you could even, I guess, quality control against your tax return, right, for that company. Like there's just so many ways you could fuck something up on some level, and then all of a sudden you have FinCEN after your ass, fining you whatever amount per day. $500 a day, because you're and you declared, and of course you didn't fucking know what the hell you clicked on fucking Sunbiz, like, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't your attorney that did it. Everybody goes on there and does their own amendments and all their own nonsense.
What are the criminal? You said criminal penalties. There's criminal.
Well,
penalties?
if you're doing it willfully, and they could, right,
oh, like you're like
the
fuck these
taxes.
people. We'll see.
Well, obviously if you defraud your application, but it's like even non-compliance is like there's a penalty. There's crazy penalties right now. The way it's written is jail time technically.
Yeah, there's a difference between I didn't know I needed to report or fuck you, I'm not reporting because I'm doing sketchy shit in the background.
But now that we all know, we're all in that fuck you, I'm not reporting.
Well, now there's a podcast. Now there's a podcast.
Now our asses. Now Gabe's getting arrested.
Prima facie evidence that we knew. And Gabe is like, I'm out.
Gabe's like, and we're
out. This is over.
Over.
This podcast is over. Like,
you're on notice now. We're fucked. Now it's willful.
I mean,
now
really,
we're going to jail. It's not just $500.
Honestly, this to me is okay, because let's remember, they're really going after people that are non-compliant, they're not paying their taxes, that are money laundering. This is just another way to rope you into some kind of criminal statute for what is really civil reporting liability, right? So overreach, government overreach.
That's the name of this episode, apparently. Government overreach.
Government overreach.
Oh man. Yeah. Well, you mentioned operating agreements. Let's go back to that.
Turn the page. Now that your business is in existence, and you're in compliance.
So you're now the managing member, and
you're now the managing member.
Oh God help us. Is there a disclaimer on the bottom of this podcast?
We can make one. What would you like it to say?
Hire a lawyer immediately.
This is not legal advice.
I'll draft a disclaimer for you.
Excellent. Yeah, you please. Yeah, you do that. We'll attach it to all the podcasts. That's a good. We should have done that.
Yeah.
We need waivers too. By the way, we need waivers from all of our.
We're getting free legal services out of you, Wilson. And I need waivers for all our podcasts.
We need a generic waiver.
My business cards.
We need a generic waiver for everyone that comes on here. Be like, we can use their images.
Oh
we
yeah,
can,
that
fucking use their clips.
Absolutely, should have.
I can fucking quote you forever.
I'm like, what kind of waiver are you talking about?
We need a little TM. We did trademark our name.
Falls on my head.
For the record, we did trademark our name.
That's
our
right.
name is trademarked.
So if you use our shit, I'm coming after you like a cat. Absolutely.
Sue your ass if you use our name. Okay.
Oh, boy. Like the cat.
Like the cat. That's what I said. I'm coming after you like a fucking cat.
Has that
came after me?
Do we need to have that story?
No, I don't think we're doing that. Can we do that? I don't think we're gonna go there.
Oh, I took that whole clause out of my fucking settlement agreement that I could talk all the fucking shit.
You didn't.
Oh, I did.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, I did.
So there's
only
no
thing I edited on that fucking settlement agreement.
Then in that case, I think
I
this is a
was
great
like,
story.
I will talk shit about this until my dying day, motherfucker.
I think this is a great.
I will call out if I could remember the fucking lawyer. I would call that out.
Okay, we out of control. So let's rein it back here.
Rein it back.
And let's tell the viewing audience and the listening audience what the fuck you're talking about.
But we did talk about this a little bit on Augusto's
A
podcast.
little bit, but at that point it wasn't settled and you hadn't signed a waiver.
So we're really going here now? Oh, circa 2019. We were writing, every week we got to come up with a newsletter. You should subscribe. It's a good time. And we put some stuff on the blog.
Trust Council website.
Dead Celebrities. Let's do it. But it was actually just like a pet trust. That's actually all, God knows what marketing company we used to write some very generic blogs. And there was a beautiful
some great lessons here
picture.
For your
there's fantastic lessons here of what not to do.
Don't worry.
On the corporate side, there's fantastic.
That's where we're going. But you tell the story, and Kristina will tell us the corporate
side. But yes,
side.
so there is a picture of what I thought was a fluffy white cat. some old lady holding a white cat, and it was just talking about like, oh, you can in this country particularly leave assets for the care of your pet.
This
right?
is like
Pet
the
trust.
best story.
And so all of a sudden, apparently
story.
in the beginning of last year, we get served with a lawsuit for $150,000 plus attorney's fees for the use of that picture. So some, charlatan, I don't remember his fucking name right now, an attorney in New York, bought the rights to this picture or whatever, and sued us. And copyright law, all of this kind of IP stuff, is from way back when, before there was the fucking internet, before Al Gore invented the internet.
There
like
you go.
people used to joke.
I think we just
and
dated ourselves.
It's very, very, yes, very definitely.
Hashtag old.
But
but I want to make this very clear to people listening, right? We're talking about Leslie has a probate and estate law firm that has absolutely nothing to do with copyright.
No.
This is like her private newsletter that she sends out for networking,
So
for
this was on the
clientele,
blog,
and the blog. This is
On
a
the blog, not
this
on
is
the-
a business. Sorry, new blog. This is a business promotional thing she does, like anyone would do when they put
Like
up.
any small business owner
Pet
does on a
trust.
daily
Like all
basis.
business owners, when they put up a social media post with a picture
Exactly.
they Googled.
all of you
right?
do this.
Like,
all
happy
of you
July
could get
4th.
sued
Everybody
Yeah.
listening
by
has
the
done
cat,
this.
guys. We all do this.
All
I mean,
business owners do this, right? We
it-
put up a
it just is
picture.
what it is.
Look how cute, my mug from Starbucks.
Right.
Like
And as Augusto explained to us that day, the person that takes the picture is the owner of the picture, right?
Right.
Unless you sell it and whatever. So this thing is registered. which
Augusto
takes-
is our trademark and copyright attorney for this.
Please go see episode whatever number. We'll put it below. We'll link it below. And like that's it. So imagine you have a picture. I mean, you literally Google lady with cat. I don't know what my marketing company Googled, to be honest with you. And they posted this picture of some nobody. The fucking cat. It wasn't a cat, it was a dog, but I digress. For a long time, we thought it was a fluffy white
Everyone
cat.
thought it was a cat.
We all thought it was a cat because
It was a Maltese.
it was a fluffy white dog.
It was a Maltese.
But we get sued.
It's okay.
And this is federal court. I mean, you're in the big leagues now. This
Yeah,
is
so-
bullshit,
So this
county,
New York
state,
attorney comes along who makes a living
makes a living doing this.
out of
nonsense,
doing this
guys.
and sues
He's a
Leslie.
troll. These are called copyright trolls.
They're called copyright
and
trolls.
of course, they don't sue broke motherfuckers. They find good, defendants to sue. And they absolutely sued us, and we had to settle this for a lot of money. A lot of money to get rid of this because we were 3 weeks from trial.
And because this is what is this, strict
Rocket
liability?
docket,
What
rocket
is that what
docket.
it's called?
Yeah, almost
Yeah.
strict liability. Like the fact that you are a business enterprise and that it's on your blog, so there's some type of commercial use. It doesn't really matter that you made really no money off the damn picture. It still had a commercial use.
Right. It's not like you sold the picture
Right.
or you made some like actual money in your pocket with this fucking picture.
Yeah.
So that's the story.
The moral of the story is.
So now let's talk about lessons learned.
Yeah. So,
I actually think the biggest lesson is a policy and procedure one, if you could believe it.
Oh.
Because they swear, and it's a verified complaint, right? So let's just take it as face value, that they sent, I think it was 4 demand letters the year before in the mail
To you.
to this office.
To this
right? Now, what was going on that year before was a revolving door of receptionists that don't actually
Sure,
answer the phone, but
sure.
had that take the mail. And although there was a, kind of whatever policy and procedure in place of logging the mail, it could have been better. It could have been better. And any one of those letters that Augusto would have responded to and said, what the
Right.
fuck do you guys want? This could have maybe gone away for $5,000.
Right.
Yeah.
but again, it's one of
because this
those
is all an
things, like-
extortion gig, guys. Let's be very clear. This
Really
is not
is.
legitimate. Like, yes.
So lesson number 1, written
Lesson
policies
number
and
1.
procedures.
Because look, this impacts, again, it's one of those things that could impact any small business owner out there that
For
has,
sure.
that has their kid doing the marketing for them and posting stuff on Instagram or whatever. Like, this is crazy. So, yes, 1, make sure you got someone opening your mail. Very important.
Very
And
important.
also reading the mail. Not just opening, you have to read it also.
Yes.
and
if-
analyzing whether it's important or
Yeah,
not.
and if it looks
Upon
scary,
reading
and
I
it.
it
mean,
says-
if it
says
says,
you
yeah,
need to-
right, exactly.
You
If
need
it's
to,
in
like-
red, govern yourself accordingly. Those
Yeah.
are the hints.
You need to get that to someone important, right? So yeah, I think that that's very important. The other thing that you could have done to prevent this is take organic pictures, right? Or which
Sure.
you may or may
Sure,
not do,
sure.
but take organic pictures of of what you're going to embed.
You
in your
could have
content,
taken a
or
picture of the fucking stray cat outside, and this would have all gone away.
This cat could be a millionaire.
Did you also wave how much this fucking cost you?
Oh yeah,
A
yeah,
lot.
yeah.
It cost a lot of money. Is all we'll say.
We
At
need
least it's tax deductible.
a lot.
Well, listen, we won't
Legal
talk. We won't talk about what you settled for, but under law, the statute says how much is the maximum?
It's $150,000.
$150,000, guys. That is the law.
Which is not even. I mean, it's a concern.
Yeah.
But their attorney's fees
Sure.
for
Right.
litigating and going to trial, etc., will
Right.
absolutely be another $150,000.
Yeah. We're talking
not
about $300,000 for using a picture
Of a
of
cat.
a cat.
Of a random cat, guys. Don't think that this is fucking Taylor Swift's cat or something, all right? Like, the cat does not have its own Instagram. Like, this is fucking cualquier gato.
This was not Lady Gaga stolen
This is
dogs.
not, like, I don't know. The cat, wait, there's a Karl Lagerfeld. Is it a cat or a dog? He has his own Instagram.
Does it make a difference?
I mean, but it's not that one.
Instagram.
That one has its own, property rights. That dog makes more money than all of us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, no, this was a fucking gato cualquiera. Like, just a fucking random cat. Some old fucking lady.
Okay, so lesson 1, policies and procedures
So
in place
lesson 1
for all employees, and you should write those down. They
Yes.
should be like in a manual,
Yeah.
right?
No,
Christina?
and they should be manual. And someone should check that somebody's abiding.
Yeah.
This is
And
the
the
most
other thing is,
important
like,
part.
I think the other important
The
thing for
auditing
business owners,
is-
like, it's great HR manuals, policies and procedures.
Oh,
like,
they're adorable.
like
They're so cute.
They're
So cute.
very useful, right? I represent a lot of business owners on their day-to-day stuff. And even a lot of times, if I ask a business owner, hey, do you got an HR manual, or do you have the policy manual or operations manuals, standard operating procedures, whatever you want to call it, they're like, yeah. And then they go and they dust it. They pull it out of some file cabinet that hasn't been opened in
100%.
freaking 10 years. And it hasn't been updated, and nobody knows it even exists. A typical business, especially in this day and age, you got a revolving door of people coming in and out, part-time labor, seasonal labor, and it's just one of those things. You got to make sure that you're communicating that to your staff. Like, how do you operate and what to do in those kind of situations, so that you're not just being reactive when a legal problem or something, hits the fan, but you're proactively preventing it, because that can save you 6 figures, and that's a deal killer for a small business owner.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy.
I feel like there's so much, and listen, as someone who owns a small business that used to be smaller, right? We're going to be 10 years in business this year, which I think is a big deal. Yeah, super exciting.
Yeah.
But that being said, I think back to when we opened the business, and even saying that, like, open the business is a 5-minute filing online. Like, let's be real, right? That we did ourselves. And while I am a lawyer, I'm no sort of this kind of lawyer. So I may be the managing director. What is it? I don't even fucking know. I don't even fucking know what title I am right now. I could be
We'll
one
check
of
that
those.
out for you.
That could be me. Who
Okay,
fucking
That's
knows?
right. Pledge agreements has got to have a BOI report too.
I don't even know what a BYO report is. Bring your own booth. bring your own
That's
operation.
the report you're filing to FinCEN.
BY.
Not bring your
BOI.
own, not bring your own beverage.
BOI. Beneficial ownership.
Beneficial
Wow.
ownership information report.
Bring your own information.
Boy,
Whatever
el
it
boy,
fucking means.
el boy.
Hey.
Oye, los Juans, they don't know what it is, because somebody the other day really said it to Alejandro. Sí, yo sé el boy. And I'm like, wow. El boy.
Wow.
El boy. El boy, cuidado. Like,
Watch
I
out,
love
watch
my-
out.
the guys in Hialeah, they got to file.
I love it.
All right. So apart from having a boy, whatever the fuck
Boy.
that means, there's all kinds of documents that you never do. Like, I'm just thinking now, right? And now I think we're a lot more careful about having an HR manual and having written policies and procedures. And our firm has grown over 10 years. And at some point you start growing up as a business owner, right? For lack of a better term. And you're like, shit, I gotta
You are forced to.
Yeah.
You
What
are
I was gonna
forced
say
to
is
grow
we
up.
can actually all attest to this. Like, if you take something as simple like an HR manual, where you just start with this like handshake, whatever 3-page agreement, you're like, oh, this is sufficient. I don't need to have all these formal policies. And then you have to send home your first employee for not wearing underwear to the office. Yeah.
Hashtag
glitter
true story
tube
for
top.
Christina.
A sparkly
I went straight
tube
That's
top.
the first thing that popped in my head.
Really?
Yep.
Really?
I gotta add that to my HR manual.
Like-
That's awesome.
The fucking balls
Yeah.
of people to be
Right.
like, is that in the HR manual? You can't look like a stripper in a law firm. It doesn't need to be in the HR manual. Literally.
But
I used
things like
to know someone who used to come to work in a swimsuit. I do. This is a true story. I actually have friends that you know who will confirm this. We worked with someone before I opened up shop who used to go to the office in a swimsuit, in which she would just use it as a bra, basically. And so you could see the swimsuit, right?
Wow.
Like, it was the
Miami's
bra.
a crazy place. Guys.
I mean, what are you going to tell her? She can't wear that bra? You ain't fucking saying that as a business owner.
I would. I'd be like, that's not appropriate. Gotta get home.
That's swimsuit, bitch.
I said the stripper home, my friends. Let me be very clear about how this went down.
Yeah.
But they will throw it in your face, which was fascinating to me.
So,
like,
so as I was saying, you learn, right? Over the years,
You learn.
you grow up.
Yeah.
Some of it the right way, some of it the hard way.
sort of
right?
the very expensive way.
Sometimes you learn the expensive way as you grow as a business owner of I should write that shit down. We should document. Every time I tell someone I document employee performance before we fire anyone, you get but Florida is a right to work state. We don't need to have a reason to fire anyone. We can fire them tomorrow. I'm like, yeah, great. That doesn't stop them from suing you for discrimination.
Yeah, I know. And that's those are always fun conversations because, again, I'll get the business owner, they'll call me in this state of panic or just kind of enraged, like, I made this decision, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, did we journal anything? Like, okay, like you have like a never-ending laundry list of infractions of this employee for doing crazy shit, like having intercourse in the break room or smoking marijuana and hiding drugs in your locker or whatever. Like, I've had some doozies over the years, like crazy shit.
I feel like I could still get sued, so I'm going to keep mine to myself. I'm gonna not partake of myself.
No, but like, representing business owners of just, obviously in subordination, the basic ones are just obvious, right? But, those stories, they just say, well, they just did this, so I let them go. Okay, that's great. But you need to document and write them up, give them opportunity, do your investigation, go through the process. Because the thing is, like, a lot of these things between, there's a time period that could go by where you have witnesses, you have things that, you have a story right now where, like, you have 5 other employees that were there that saw it and everybody's very clear as to what happened and whatever. And just that simple step of making those statements, when this thing hits the fan 2 years later and you're like, oh, none of those employees are here anymore and I've got no one that can help me, unpack this turd.
I have no witnesses
exactly.
to this foolishness.
So you're going to have to clean up that slop without any kind of ammunition behind your back when you really had you had good grounds for it. So
you don't think anything's going to happen until it happens.
Yeah.
I think it's we all believe in seeing the best in people and we think we're doing our best and acting fair, and that's just not always how
good
it works
intentions, out. Benefit of the doubt, all that stuff.
All that fun stuff.
You get burned a couple times, you're like, nope. Like not doing this.
You're like, do I really need to write this up? It wasn't that big a deal.
Right.
Until it's like not that big a deal 20 times.
Yeah.
So we've spoken a little bit about, people doing this and growing up. And again, we start off by creating all our own fucking documents and shit, and not hiring people to do things. Because let's be real, we're small, we're mom and pops, and we're like, I can't afford to hire a corporate attorney to spend, $10,000 doing my corporate documents. But at some point, you got to grow up and realize these have real consequences. But Kristina, there's all these great tools out there now, like LegalZoom and ChatGPT, and I mean, isn't that the same shit as what you do?
It's great. Those are my favorite. Those are my favorite agreements that I get. Yeah, look, I mean, I get it. Like, I'm going to start twitching soon. I'm right now in the hives.
We got some Starbucks coffee for you right here. Sponsored by Starbucks. No, I'm just kidding. We're not sponsored by anyone. Don't take me serious.
No, the LegalZoom, the ChatGPT. My God, like these contracts, the internet contracts. Look, we go to law school for 3 years. We study this. We learn how to draft contracts. When you download your agreement off Google, it may look official and it may sound official, but
you have no idea what you're looking at.
You don't know what you're looking at. And you don't know what you're agreeing to, what's left out. I cannot count on every finger or toe I have how many times I've gotten a contract where 5 different contracts have been spliced together and it doesn't make any freaking sense whatsoever. They've taken, like a service agreement and merged it with a shareholder agreement and a loan agreement. And I'm like, what the hell is happening here? You know, and again, there's all these like legal concepts. Putting that aside, it just doesn't even make sense. There's
but to the untrained eye, it's pretty.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's more than 3 pages, so it must be official, right? And then again, it's like buying car insurance. You know, like the thing is with these documents, right? When you have a contract, I get it. Nobody wants to. You got to watch what you spend, especially at the beginning when you're growing as a business and all that. But it's like buying car insurance. You buy car insurance with the hope and in the expectation that you'll never have to use it, right? You buy that policy, you throw it in the glove box or whatever, you leave it in your email, whatever, and you hope you never have to look at it again, right? And it's the same thing with a contract. You know, you're not really you put that contract in place. It's not you're staring at it every week when you come into the office. Look how pretty my contract is. You chuck it.
I don't know, my contract's pretty.
You chuck it in a drawer, and the only time you're pulling it out is when shit hits the fan, when there's a problem, right? Between one of the parties, or when someone's claiming you didn't do your job or you didn't get paid on time or something like that. And now you're going out there to get this lovely spliced Frankenstein contract and you're trying to interpret it as for your situation, which most of the time is not even there. You know, and then we have the GPT contracts as well that, look, that technology is amazing.
I was about to say, there's been a lot of ChatGPT hate on this podcast, and I would just like to say, I am a proud ChatGPT user. I got tool. Elina GPT now. I've designed my own.
What the fuck is Elina GPT?
So if you do the paid version of ChatGPT, you actually can create your own GPTs that do things and mimic things. So, for example, I have an immigration GPT. That creates social media posts based on immigration. So I uploaded a lot of immigration documents. So it learned all the immigration lingo and it knows a lot about immigration law. Actually, my immigration GPT specifically built for that. And then I also created one that is my personal voice based on what I like. And I uploaded a lot of my social media posts and memories and things like that. And I kind of...
so what you're saying is you're too lazy to respond to your friends at this point?
Pretty much, no. But I created one that has my voice. So for example, my social media, sometimes I'll say I want to create a post about, I don't know, my visit to, for example, Statue of Liberty. That's a good one. I went to the Statue of Liberty, something very meaningful for an immigration attorney. It was a squishy visit, like legit. And
sure.
And I've uploaded a lot of things, and I can ask it for at least draft 1 before I edit it, right? Of write me a social media post about the Statue of Liberty,
right.
Specifically talking about this, the meaning of it as, you know, such a foundational immigration place in my practice and in my life. And it created a lovely post, and I edit it because I like it to sound a lot like me. But my Elina GPT is actually doing a really good job of this. And then the more and more I play with it, the more it has learned my voice and my thoughts.
Right.
And it's fucking impressive. I mean, it's impressive. And the immigration one, amazing. Like, I've been asking it to do a lot of, like some of my newsletters. It doesn't write it from scratch, but I use it to create paragraphs and sections. I'll be like, I want to do a newsletter on this. So I'll ask it, okay, write me 1 paragraph on this topic. And then I'll be like, okay, now write me a paragraph on this. And then I can go in and add some examples and edit it. But I mean, if you are a small business owner and you are not using the GPTs like ChatGPT, you are missing out.
Yeah.
And even the free version is absolutely worth it. Like, for those of you, the paid version is like $20 a month. Okay, totally fucking worth the $20 because I've now created my own GPTs.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of running for election for one of my boards that I sit on in the next year, and I was playing around because you can also search. Well, I was about to say you can search for other people, just like I created the Elina GPT and I created my immigration GPT. You can search public ones, like other people will create them and put them out there. Some are private, like the ones I made, I keep to myself, but you can share them. And so I've been searching through them, and it's fascinating. There's GPTs for everything. So I said I was thinking about running for something, and I went to one that was like an election GPT, and it was creating buttons for me. And I was like, I need a good tagline. My name, I want it to rhyme. Like, I want it to be funny. I don't want it to be so serious. I want it to be colorful. Like, okay, I don't like those colors. Make it go these colors. They're more peaceful. And it created the cutest little, I'm not going to tell you what it is because I haven't run for office yet. It's a surprise. but it created the cutest slogan that I fell in love with. I mean, again, after like 20 rounds, but for brainstorming, it's amazing.
And that's what I was going to say.
Amazing.
Like
amazing.
just taking what you just said about just topics, like for a business owner or for anybody, for anything, like I think it's a phenomenal tool to brainstorm and to
100%
to get a baseline of information. Like if you want to learn about the Corporate Transparency Act, go type that in there and you can go to town. But but when you're turning towards, like, again, like you said, even with your social media posts, it's a good base to start with, but then you have to make tweaks, right? So
sure. Well, it lacks intuition. It lacks true education. It lacks true knowledge.
And there's some misapplication going on there. And just some missing, like a lot of times you have state law or federal law, whatever. So when you're talking about official documents and things like that, you need to make sure that they're done properly. And I think it's a fantastic tool. I'm not a hater of it, but I think it's not there yet. I think it's a good base to start with, but you still need it because again, that document, when you're in trouble, that's when you're going to be looking at it.
Well, 100%. So I don't disagree with you. I mean, I think there's some wonderful applications, and then it comes to, but should it be writing my contracts?
Right. Do you really want it? But
does it know the Florida law as well as a lawyer would at this point? I don't know. It's I will tell you that it's fascinating for things like when we were updating our manual, we asked the things like, give me some ideas of some clauses we should include in our manual. And it did a fantastic job of like spitting out 20 things, right? Like you should include a dress code. You should include hours. You should include, and I was like, this is brilliant because while it came out with a bunch of things we had already thought of, there was actually like 2 or 3 things that we hadn't really considered. And it gave us the opportunity to talk about it and decide what we wanted that to be and then draft appropriate language on our own.
Yeah. And then look, it's a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. You can say, give me the top 10 clauses that should be in this.
Exactly.
That's great. But you know what, guys? Every sentence in a contract means something. It's either giving you rights or taking them away or giving you obligations or putting it on a different party.
It's true.
Every contract is negotiable and customizable for what you prefer. And I think while it's a good base, there are some things like I have, like if you take something simple like a lease agreement, I've got one client where the most important thing for that particular client is he wants a tenant in his property. He wants a long-term tenant in his property, start, finish. He wants that cash flow. He relies on that cash flow to pay his bills, to pay for his kids' tuition. He wants to make sure he's got always has a tenant in there. I right down the road, I have another real estate investor that we have several properties that we are helping them out with. And his biggest thing is flexibility. He wants to be able to relocate or terminate and throw someone out of a space so he can repurpose it because that's not in his long-term path. That's not what's important to him. It's not that it's good or bad or ugly or anything. It's just what do they prefer? And I think like if you just GPT something and say blah, 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 all those customizable things all those preferences that you have that serve your greater interest, they can get missed or
100%.
100%. So I think that's where it gets important. But
no different than downloading an internet lease, right?
Exactly. Well, it's probably better than downloading an internet lease.
Well, I mean, we might have evolved a little bit.
It might have evolved a little bit.
A little bit. But, ChatGPT is the first thing that'll tell you not to rely on it for legal advice. Yeah. The one positive thing I can say, and I said this to all the lawyers. Yeah, but like every time you ask it a legal question, because I've tried, it'll actually, it might tell you what it thinks, and then it concludes with, I'm not a lawyer, get some advice.
Right.
And when the AI is telling you that.
AI is telling you. Gotta go with it. But yeah, I mean, we get a lot of, LegalZoom is just an example. There's several of those platforms out there, but again, a lot of contracts from those kind of services where, again, it's a one size fits all boilerplate template agreement. And it's just, when you're trying to clean up the mess after the fact, it's.
Yeah. I have another question while we were on the topic of agreements. Do you draft non-competes?
I do draft non-competes from time to time. Yes, I do.
Can you explain to everyone what a non-compete is?
Sure. So, and this is a concept that's, it's been around for a long time. So basically you're a business owner, you've built your craft, you have your service or your product that is special to your business. And then you go out and you hire staff, right? You don't want that staff to be able to, pick it up and open up shop.
Steal your shit.
Steal your shit.
Don't steal my ideas.
Right. And take it, across the street and just start selling it, and pilfer your idea. So, through contract law, there's these covenants not to compete or, agreements, non-compete agreements, where they either in scope of work, time, or geographic region, they protect that employer that's hired someone for a given time period in a given region for a scope of work, protect their ideas and give them the rights to basically own their stuff. So if an employee comes and works for them and leaves, they can't just go open up shop across the street.
Yeah.
And it varies from state to state. And I've seen some, I've seen some crazy non-compete language out there. Like, you can do this anywhere in the world, blah, 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 for the next 50 years of your life, and some of them are a bit ridiculous, right? But again, a lot depends on, the product, right? So if you're like talking about Burger King versus McDonald's or whatever, but then you have something like Coca-Cola that has that secret formula, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or if you work for a pharmaceutical company and they're developing a cancer treatment or something like that, millions of dollars and years get dumped into developing that product, and then just to have it like kind of ripped off and resold, it's a deterrent for people to invest in research and invest in product development and things like that.
Are non-competes still legal in Florida?
They are still legal in Florida. They are still legal. So this actually has made some news, unlike the CTA.
Uh-huh.
So there's been some talk about the FTC basically finding non-competes unconstitutional, basically banning them, right?
Yeah.
And it again, they just opened up for commentary on this back in March. It's still in the like petri dish phase of challenges and stuff like this, but they're just getting feedback and commentary right now. But as you can imagine, employment law firms and employers all over the place are jumping up and down because this is it's a deterrent, for them to do business, to invest, just knowing that their stuff could get ripped off, right? Or that they can't keep an employee from going and taking their knowledge that they've spent thousands of dollars training that employee to the competition and just, putting them out of business. But basically, from what has kind of happened, the development over this, again, yes, it's out there and there's a lot of talk. I hear it a lot from my business owner clients, like, oh, covenant not to competes aren't enforceable anymore, and these non-competes and non-solicitations, they have no bearing anymore. But that's not true. And again, many people feel it's another example of government overreach. That, it's on the federal level, but that even if this happens, there's still state laws that come into play here. And again, well before this law becomes a law, well before any of this becomes a law, there's going to be challenges and commentary out the rear end on this one. So, hold tight, stay, knowledgeable about it. But right now, the buzz on the street from, corporate lawyers, employment lawyers is, as long as your covenant not to compete, your non-compete agreements are still reasonable in time and scope, you're okay. You can use them. I'm still putting them in contracts. We're still using them. And we're going to see how it unfolds. But, it's an important thing for a lot of business owners.
That certainly seems to have been slow rolled.
Yeah.
Like it came out the gate with a lot of press and a lot of whatever, and then kind of like everybody.
Pumping the brakes.
Yeah, everybody kind of lost interest or something.
Yeah.
This is what's going to happen with the CTA.
Oh no, FinCEN doesn't lose interest in shit.
Well, with all that being said, I hate to say we're out of time because there's still so much shit to talk about. But
I'll come back, maybe.
you should come back if we didn't scare you away. But any final thoughts for our viewing and listening audience, Kristina?
Listen, again, there's a lot of developments going on out there. And for all my business owner people out there, just remember, it's not just about being reactive. Yes, there are going to be laws that get rolled out that we have to comply with. But when you're running your business as you scale, you need to put out the fires, but you also need to think about how you can prevent them. And our law firm, we've represented business owners for my entire legal career. That's what I do. And we listen to them. We've created plans for them where we serve as their lawyer. We're on their team. They call us whenever they want.
In-house counsel.
In-house counsel. Like you got someone to call when you're with every question you could possibly have. Sometimes people call me, and it's not even necessarily a legal question. They just want to get a third-party advice on how to handle a situation. But again, you're not alone out there. You don't need to fly blind and go with an internet contract. There are resources out there that are affordable that you can budget into your budget so that you're not being blindsided with a crazy legal bill. But these are investments in your business, and you have to take your business seriously so that you don't have to deal with headaches.
Or you won't get sued by a cat.
Or you don't get sued by animals, right? So and all these things are completely avoidable.
And for the record, it was a dog.
It was a dog.
I just want to make that really clear that she didn't even know what animal she was getting sued by.
It's a typical business owner client. Right?
Yes.
It's exactly right. And that's the thing. Like, you got to stay focused on your business, whatever it is that you do. You don't want to worry about getting sued or dealing with these problems. So, but you do want to make sure they get handled so you don't get just creamed on the back end. So, we're here. Our law firm helps business owners with their day-to-days. We help put infrastructure in place. We help you see those things that you don't have the eyes to see, that you just walk by every day or that you're just doing every day that could become a problem or a legal exposure in some capacity. So we're here to help. And that's about it.
Thank you, Kristina. That was very nice. And fuck that cat.
Fuck that cat.
That's all we're saying. All right. This has been Law Shit You Should Know. Thank you all for watching and listening, and we'll see you again next time.